Hey everyone, I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, and today we're going to be talking about why you most likely will not catch a 100x on a cryptocurrency. I'm going to be breaking this down very comprehensively, but essentially, if you only put in $100 into some coin, it's as likely as winning the lottery that is just going to skyrocket, go 100x, 1000x, and beyond. And you're not going to sell that whole time knowing very little about what you're investing in, thus likely having extremely low conviction in it, and you will probably sell fairly early on. I know this because we have all the statistical data to prove it, and because with all these crazy altcoins, meme coins, metaverse coins, all this nonsense, the amount of people who are now millionaires versus, a year ago, 2 years ago, etc., it's generally on the same trend. And I would even argue that with inflation and everything else, even though it's gone up ever so slightly, that's still, in line with just normal data of people becoming millionaires from being self-made or doing different things. The small, tiny percentage of people who are actually becoming rich off of crypto or any random gambling-esque investments, penny stocks, anything like that, off of a very small investment that they're just randomly throwing money around, speculating heavily, basically gambling, is almost never the case that these people become wealthy. And even still beyond that, I would argue that if you look at data for people who do become extremely wealthy, they are more likely to lose that wealth very quickly, because if they don't have good financial practices built into their daily routines and habits and their life in general, they're going to lose that money regardless. I believe it's I probably have the statistics in here, so we're gonna dive into all of that and actually go through everything in depth and comprehensively. But before we dive into all that data, a quick word from my sponsor today. If you like to gamble with cryptocurrency, check out bc.game. The link is in the description below for my sign up link, where you can use that to get some free crypto to get started. Enjoy bc.game, a game changer for 2022. Thanks again to my sponsor. So I'm going to be referring a lot to the document here. So I don't know if it makes the most sense for me to just screen share this and go through, or to talk to you guys and kind of switch between them. But I guess to start, I will just screen share, and I'll be working through this document and going through the various sources that I've listed, and we're going to go through everything. So I think the easiest thing to look at is comparing the amount of people who are millionaires. In 2019, 1% of the adult population in the entire world, or 51.9 million individuals, were millionaires. Today, there are 56.1 millionaires, million millionaires, and that makes up 1.1% of the population. Again, I would say that slight percentage increase isn't really that notable, and if anything, it's fairly in line with massive increases in inflation, etc., and it's not really anomalous to what we've seen previously. It takes the typical investor 32 years to get rich. That means the average person, as you can see here, is making their first million by 50. So most people aren't making $1 million until they're close to retirement. Again, this is largely why I do everything that I do. It's the whole point of this channel. I started heavily getting serious into investing in November of 2019. I went all the way up to 393,000 not that long ago, but then we had obviously a lot of losses in the market, and now I'm down to 320,000. Regardless, that's 2 years. My goal is to do it in 10 years or less. I believe that you can almost guarantee that this is possible if you follow a set of rules, which I've covered in other videos. The main one being that if you can somehow manage to save 65% of your income and invest all of it, you can retire in 10 years or less. That number changes as you save different amounts. Like I believe 50% is 15 years. I can't remember exactly, but it obviously scales based on what you're trying to do. And I've covered all this previously. But the main point is that the average person takes the majority of their working years, let's say, because it's fair to say that once you're 50, you've worked the majority of the hard, laborsome work that you're going to do in your life. You're not going to be doing extremely challenging, hard work late into your life. And you might, but for the average person, that's definitely not what they're trying to do. And that's not what most people are doing. So if it takes you to 50 to make $1 million on average, and it takes the average person 32 years, then most of the time, based on the data, people are not getting rich off of all of this nonsense. All of this really to say that your rationale getting into crypto should not be, I'm going to invest $100 into random cryptocurrencies and somehow become a millionaire, because when they go up 1,000%, I still won't sell, and I'll be waiting until it's worth millions and then I'll sell. Well, I mean, even if you got into that situation, we saw with many different things like the metaverse tokens all skyrocketing and then dropping 50%. Shiba Inu, Doge skyrocketing, dropping 50% or more in value. So we know that these things don't just infinitely go, and you would actually have to pick the perfect time as well. It's not just about getting in early. It's not about finding the perfect project. It's also about when are you going to sell, all these different things. Do you really have conviction in your investments? Most people do not, especially getting into this new space and they don't know what they're investing in. Even people getting into stock investing who are investing in penny stocks probably don't have a lot of conviction in those stocks. I know a lot of people who will just, chat with people on chat groups or their friends or whatever, and they'll invest based on random recommendations. They don't know pretty much anything about the company. They haven't done any research, anything like that, or the cryptocurrency, etc. Looking at the fundamentals, what's the inflation rate, all these different important factors as to whether or not you'd actually want to get involved. Most people know very little, and they have very little conviction in the things they're investing. So you can actually go and take a look at all the data as well. You can find these same sourced statistics pretty much anywhere. If anyone disagrees with any of these statistics, feel free to drop something in the comments for corrections or whatever. But I'm fairly confident that these are pretty accurate. And I'm seeing the same kind of thing across many different sources. So I think this is fair to say. And you can come to a different conclusion about this, but it's fair to say that most people are not becoming millionaires. It's taking them a large portion of their life to even do so. And that right there should show you that you're probably not going to catch a 100x or 1,000x and make insane amounts of money, because most people are not becoming millionaires. And I mean, someone could argue that they're only making 500,000, etc. But again, people who make a lot of money, who don't know how to make money or who don't have sound strategies and they're just getting lucky, like winning the lottery, a lot of times those people will spend all of their money or lose it very quickly. The next section, this isn't to discourage you from investing in crypto, by the way. This is really just to level set expectations. So there's a bunch of things in here that explain that most people are not actually getting rich from cryptocurrency. From fairly reputable sources. We can take a look here at Investopedia. This is actually one of my favorite possible sources to refer to for learning about investing. And I would say, if anything, if you want to learn about investing, reading all of the articles, if you could read everything on Investopedia, you would be like an expert in investing, in my opinion. And if you only wanted to read one section, it would be the financial psychology section and behaviors in financial psychology, which I will cover in a future episode, but there's a lot to get into. So that's going to take some time for me to get all that together. But when we're talking about people getting rich off of crypto, I'm not using Bitcoin as like a gotcha thing. I actually think Bitcoin is one of the better cryptocurrencies, but we have the most data on here to be able to refer to. And it's not unreasonable to say that most people aren't becoming millionaires from Bitcoin, because it's not about becoming a millionaire. It's about investing in a good, scarce asset. That doesn't mean that if you invest in Bitcoin or gold, that it's going to go up 1,000 times. Because even if it did, then it would be so hard to get in and keep investing. And it would just be the, first few people who did that who are really the rich ones. What it's more about, I would say, is having a decentralized form of wealth, which is amazing just on its own. But then it's also got all these other amazing factors, like you can send it around the world instantly. You can bring all of it with you everywhere you go. Like if we're comparing Bitcoin to gold, for example, lots and lots of different things. But like gold, it is just a great form of building and storing and keeping your wealth. And that's what I would say Bitcoin is all about. It's not about magically making you rich, nor is any cryptocurrency. And a lot of people getting into the space really have a very irrational view of how things work in this space. For example, I know many people who have made a lot of money, but they're still unhappy with the gains because they're looking for that, that 100x, that 10x. And if you were talking to like someone in the stock market, even small percentage gains are seen as a pretty big deal. Whereas in crypto, someone could double their money and still be unfulfilled and unsatisfied, which is pretty wild. So when we take a look at the wealth distribution of Bitcoin, you can actually see that the majority of people don't actually have very much Bitcoin. And that's not really a problem. It's just that people only have a little bit of exposure or, not enough money to invest or whatever. That's really just to say only a small percentage of people who hold Bitcoin are actually millionaires. And again, this isn't like a knack on Bitcoin. This is representative of most cryptocurrencies. Most people holding crypto are not millionaires. The average person holds a very, very, very small amount. And it's, again, the same with most cryptocurrencies. So even if you hold, 100 Doge and Doge goes up 100 times, that barely is a gain. And a lot of it just comes back down to having high conviction in what you're investing in and actually being able to stick it out. But it's not for me to say that like you should be holding on to your Doge. This is more so that you should be picking good investments and sticking with them rather than looking for the next 100x gem. Because a lot of the stuff I see when I go online is people shilling out their next Ethereum, the next Bitcoin, the next Doge, the next Shiba. It's all just a hype cycle for that person who made that thing to make the most money. And they figure, why invest when I can create the next Doge and get all the money from all these foolish people? And that's what's generally happening. It's a wealth transfer from many to very few. And that's the case for all cryptocurrencies, more or less. The way to actually make money is to ensure that you're investing in sound cryptocurrencies that are quality, have good fundamentals, and you actually have conviction in them. So you're going to keep investing in them through dips. You're not just going to sell all of it once it goes up a little bit. People usually don't have that for these random speculative coins. And that's why, even though Doge was so inexpensive, very few people did become millionaires off of Doge. And there's only a few cases that actually get highlighted because there are only a few cases. And it's as simple as that. 62% of investors believe that cryptocurrency will make them rich. That is very, very sad because most of these people aren't going to be rich. And going around with this mentality, as I've mentioned in previous videos, having the mentality of looking to get rich quick is the exact demographic of person that scammers are looking to scam, that success gurus are selling courses to, all these different things. And I've even seen this on the back end, having my YouTube ads. I've disabled get rich quick scheme ads. There's literally a category of ads that are called get rich quick scheme ads, which even that exact wording is illegal in advertising, but YouTube has its own category for this. I've blocked it from being shown on my videos, but I'm sure many do not block these videos. So you're probably seeing a lot of that kind of stuff. And I'm sure people would just not categorize their ads as well as get rich quick schemes to get around that. So, it's pretty rampant when YouTube has its own category for it, which is pretty crazy, and it's allowed, right? But yeah, 62% of crypto investors do believe that they'll get rich. Bitcoin rose 800% in the last year. Was this recently? Yeah, this was about half a year ago, but yeah, that is correct. And nevertheless, 50% of investors plan to hold as a bet on the future price appreciation. I think that's not a bad idea. But the 62% of people who think they're going to get rich, I would like to know how much money they invest to actually believe that. But it is very sad that many people, think that they're going to get rich off of a very small investment. That's never how it works, right? You're never going to make a lot of money with low effort, low investment, low time investment. Like, how would that even make sense? If that were possible, everyone would be doing it. And if everyone was doing it, then it wouldn't be the thing that gets you rich, because everyone would be at that same level and that would not be rich anymore. For example, if inflation got out of hand and everyone was a millionaire, then being a millionaire would not be being a millionaire anymore. They would only consider a millionaire status of someone who's maybe got $100 million or what have you. If everyone is doing the thing, it's not, it's not challenging or like the way to, get rich. It's doing what not everyone is doing, because what most people are doing is throwing their money into random investments, losing money, all this kind of stuff. And we'll get into how many people are actually making money versus losing money in investing in general in a moment. So, 46% of people said they regretted not buying Bitcoin. 55% said they had no regrets. It really just comes down to your ability to deal with volatility and things of that nature. But we're not going to be in-depthly going through every single article because there's a lot to cover. Another great example is, it says who's really getting rich in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Just like how in the NFT space, the majority of people getting rich are the distributors, the artists, and maybe like you could say distributors as the person who's releasing the NFT, or the exchanges facilitating those trades, like OpenSea, for example. That's who's getting rich. It's rare that one person is just finding the best NFTs and then selling them at a higher price, and they're just like an NFT collector. You'd probably have to have a lot of money to even begin with to do something like that. And I think it's laughable that people would go into NFT investing and consider that investing. Just like if you have no money, no stock account, no assets, and you think the way to start investing is to buy Pokemon cards, it would make sense for someone who's got the money to do so, who's already set up well financially, but it would not make sense to start your investing career in collectibles that you know nothing about. It's the same with NFTs. It's kind of insane. I will cover that as well, why you probably won't make money off of NFTs. Unfortunate, but that is the reality. And yeah, we don't need to get into this one. That's fine. Because again, we're not going to cover every single one. A lot of people who are losing money investing in crypto is because they're getting into rug pulls, scams. They're investing in shit coins. So let's take a look at an example of, people who have lost all of their money investing in random currencies. Pete Roberts here is just one example where he invested $23,000 into very, probably altcoins / shit coins. And he invested into several tokens, and it is now worth $4,000. So he lost the majority of his funds, essentially. And while to someone like myself, who's very well established now, that doesn't seem like a huge loss. If that was his like total savings and net worth, there's a lot of people who can't get over a loss like that, and they will self-delete, or, I'm not going to say the exact words because of censorship, etc. But there's a lot of people who get into that space, and we saw that with the 2008 financial crisis and crash. And it's very unfortunate and very sad. And you can come back from it. But the best thing to do is not to make these mistakes. And that's why I make these kinds of videos, because it's more important to save the people who can be saved rather than to try to lecture the people who are, gambling and like, oh, it's fine, I can just gamble this money, whatever. A lot of people, which I'll cover in financial psychology, a lot of people have this weird way they look at mental accounting behaviors where they're saying, oh, it's just $200, it's fine, it doesn't matter, whatever, I can throw this into this weird cryptocurrency. All of your money should be looked at as money that you're building your wealth with, because if you're always looking at, small amounts of money, but you might make a small amount of money, so it's not really a small amount. But you might look at that and say, oh, it's whatever. But every time you spend it on random things or invest poorly with it, you're taking longer and longer and longer to actually meet your financial goals and to eventually retire. You can just play it safe and follow all the right, methodology of investing and get very close to a near guarantee of being able to achieve what you want to achieve. Like I said, you can break it down into, for example, 65% saved and invested without changing your expenses for the most part. You can retire in 10 years or less. And again, that will scale. But you can look at objective numbers that you would have to hit to be able to retire in a certain time frame. It's nearly guaranteed if you can do that. What isn't guaranteed is that you're going to make the right investments to make that happen. And for the most part, people are not. And that's the sad part. There's a lot of different examples of people losing money. I just thought that was one good example. Here's another one. A 45-year-old teacher. She put about 100 million won or $90,000 into cryptocurrency. She drew on savings, an insurance policy, and a $25,000 loan. So basically, you never trade with money that isn't your own, or that you can afford to lose. But she thought she was going to get rich, so she just went all in. Her investments are down 90%, and she basically was one of those people who was taken in, as I mentioned earlier. Someone who's desperate or someone who's looking to get rich is the prime suspect for scams, advertising, terrible cryptocurrencies too, etc. She was probably being hit with tons of scams, rug pulls, terrible cryptocurrencies because she's going on Google and typing in how to get rich online. And every ad she has then served beyond that are scams and random crappy cryptocurrencies because that's who they're targeting. And then she loses all of her money. That's a regular occurrence for people like that, who are desperate, who, don't know enough about the space, people who get into looking to get rich quickly. That's the prime target for these kinds of things. And this is exactly what I do in my day job. I'm a social media marketer, so I understand how demographics are advertised to and how that affects people. So that's what I do all day. This is my after hours stuff for those of you that don't know. So, we could keep going through many examples, but we're already 24 minutes in, so let's just keep moving. This is going to be a long one. My apologies, but I hope you're getting something from this. If anything, the only thing you really need to get from this is that this is risky, and you're better off just focusing on really, really quality stuff. Personally, Bitcoin and Ethereum. People might look at that right now and say it's been kind of rough. It's because there's a next gem that's going to pop up and take their spot or whatever. And then those are the people trying to catch the 100x, and they don't usually. But none of this is financial advice, to be fair. And this is mainly financial entertainment. And that's pretty much it. I personally just mainly stick to Bitcoin and Ethereum. I have a few others. And I do, my stocks and everything. You guys can always check that out on my monthly updates, like I posted yesterday. But, there's a lot out there. There's way more terrible stuff to get into than good stuff. So it's really just eliminating all that and being extremely skeptical of everything coming your way and just sticking to the really quality stuff. Because most people are too open to the idea of, oh, that's going to make me rich in 30 days. Let's do that. No, when you hear something like that, the first thing that comes to your mind is, that sounds like a scam. I don't trust that. You have to prove it to be real with overwhelming evidence to me. Because again, why would someone even waste time trying to give you a amazing strategy that they could just use themselves? No one's selling these strategies out of the goodness of their heart to take your money. Most people like that, it's proven that they're making the majority of their money from selling to you, not from the actual thing that they're trying to teach you to do. I'm not selling anything. I'm just teaching you guys how to not lose money, essentially, in crypto and invest and follow the right rules and, do the right things to get yourself set up well. I'm going to retire in 10 years or less from when I started 2 years ago. I'm already over 30% of the way. It's going to be no time at all, honestly. So, and if we look at some data on day traders, people who are often trading, doesn't necessarily have to be daily, but more often than just short term. Like you're maybe even trading every week or every few days or whatever. You're trading that you think you're doing technical analysis. Maybe you think something's going to pop off on some news, and whatever it happens to be, you're doing extremely, extremely short term investments. And I would call it more speculating or gambling, not really investing. But something that's very important to understand is that the average individual investor underperforms the market index at about 1.5% per year, meaning that you could do nothing and invest your money in indexes for stocks. Most of this is just stock data, but it definitely translates to crypto. You could just put your money into an index and you would make more money without doing any work basically at all. And because you're not doing any work, all of that extra time can be spent earning money, doing things that you want, or potentially finding other better investments to put your money into. If all of your time is spent looking for the next 100x and you don't make that 100x, you're going to be poor. And it's as simple as that. Active traders typically underperform by 6.5% annually. So this is just the average person. This isn't even necessarily a day trader. Just you will normally, on average, underperform the market by 1.5%. Someone who's actively trading, as we mentioned here, the day traders, they will underperform at 6.5% annually. So the average person who's day trading is losing 6.5%, or well, not necessarily losing, but they're getting 6.5% less than they could if they just invested and put no effort in whatsoever. So, I mean, you could still be making money, but if you're underperforming the market, you're basically giving up free money at that point, especially if you're working a lot and putting a lot of effort, time, and money to make that underperformed 6.5%. Then you're really at a loss because not only have you lost potential gains, but you're also losing time, etc. Traders with up to a 10-year negative track record will continue to trade on average, meaning that most people never learn this stuff. Most people will never learn. Even when presented with all the information, they're like, no, it's fine. As I mentioned earlier, the biggest thing is mental accounting behaviors. They'll say, yeah, but it's just $100. And if it turns out to become $1 million, then it'll all have been worth it. So it's fine. It's also kind of like the lump sum fallacy, where it's like you just keep, or sunk cost fallacy, where you just keep putting money in and you're like, eventually this is going to work. It's like a gambling addict. That's insane. And you're better off learning as early as possible. This has 24 statistics on why most traders lose money. You can go and check that out as well. These are all just random articles. Some of them are a little more authoritative than others and have a lot more data to back things up. But I think these are all fairly strong sources, and you guys can check them out yourselves and tell me if you think I'm wrong on any of this. But there's not going to be a lot of data to prove otherwise. Like, you're not going to find a lot of data that's saying most day traders are making tons and tons of money. And if you are, it's on a blog for someone selling a day trading course. I would be willing to bet. Now, why most traders lose money and why the market requires it. This is one of the most important nuances to understand. The reason that people are getting rich and making money in the stock market, in crypto, is because it is, to some degree, a zero-sum game. Someone is getting the money and someone is giving them the money. Everyone is not just getting rich. You are getting rich off of someone else generally. So, the crowd creates the trends. When everyone is doing something, that's the trend, right? You don't want to be following the crowd because the crowd is not rich. The crowd is the one who is poor trying to get rich. So you don't want to be the crowd. The crowd creates the trends that continue until everyone finally gets on board from all the marketing and all the advertising. And eventually, then that trend will reverse because now it's just everyone is in this thing. It doesn't mean anything anymore. If everyone's in it, it's not the special way to get rich. It's just the thing that everyone is in, and now it's not special anymore. So then the trend reverses. Only a small percentage of people actually win in these scenarios. Also, the main reason why people sell at a loss, and most do statistically, is due to social influence. Everyone is panicking. Everyone is selling. There was a big drop off in the market. People typically, on average, will buy at the peak and sell at the bottom. That's the exact opposite of the way that you should invest, but that's what generally happens because they see it keeps going up and up and up, and they're like, I gotta get involved. And then they buy it, it starts tanking. They say, well, I gotta get out before it gets any worse. They sell, it starts going back up, and you are at a loss. This is all very well explained in this article, so I recommend checking that out. You're more likely to succumb to psychological behaviors, as I've continued to mention, that are affecting your financial decisions, especially while investing. I'm going to cover all this more in the future. There's an insane amount of psychological behaviors and things that affect your decision making constantly, whether it's investing or otherwise, even just general spending and saving and budgeting. Things like FOMO, FUD, panic buying, panic selling, all these things, they can completely ruin your portfolio. You need to understand going in that you have to avoid all these things, avoid the emotion, and just be focused on the logical investing, which you can do by following a set of rules that you either create for yourself or you follow. I've created 20 rules for investing that I follow. You can go and check that out. I always link that. But again, none of this is financial advice. This is just what I do. It's been working phenomenally. And I look at all the data and I follow and I see what's actually happening, what's happening to most people, how is the market reacting, and just understanding all these things is really how you're going to invest the most effectively. It's not about catching the 100x. It's not about getting in early. It's more so about having financial discipline, sticking to the things that you know are working and following those rules that you have for yourself, investing with logic, and staying the course. It's about consistency, continuing to invest, and not breaking out of these habits and breaking your bad habits, being frugal, make sure you budget, stop going out to eat all the time, all these different things. That's pretty much everything. I was also going to get into how many, professional athletes lose the majority of their money after they retire. I believe the stat is, and maybe I'll add this in afterwards because I thought I had this here. I believe the stat is that I think it's 75% of NFL players lose most of their money in 5 years. Or less than 5 years. And for NBA players, it was like 62% in 3 years, somewhere around there. But all the numbers were above 50% of millionaires were losing the majority of their funds in less than 5 years. And I believe for lottery winners, it's significantly smaller than that. But I'll make sure to add that at the end so that you guys have that data as well. But that is really to say that even if you did somehow catch the 100x, or the 1000x, you're still most likely to lose all that money, because being in like Shiba or Doge and having that like kind of risky gambling type behavior, you're more likely to continue doing that. And since you don't have those good practices and financial, behaviors and personal financial skills, you're probably going to end up back where you were before all of that. And that's statistically proven to be the case. If you happen to win the lottery as a very, successful investor who is given a lottery ticket for Christmas, it's a very different situation than the average person buying lottery tickets who does not have much money, who is doing this in hopes to get rich and get out of poverty. And there's the same people who get into, crazy cryptocurrencies, get into scams, buy success courses, all these things that make you lose money. Typically all the same personality type. And it's typically poorer, more desperate, more vulnerable to these types of things. It's not like rich people are, getting scammed left and right and losing all their money to random weird, like buy my masterclass or whatever. So that's everything for today. This was a very, very, very long video, so I really appreciate all of you that stuck to the very end. But this is very, very important, especially with the amount of craze in crypto right now. A lot of people have very, bad expectations, or they just don't have a rational perspective of the market as a whole, whether it's, penny stock investing or getting into crypto and buying tons of random coins they've never heard anything about. We've all, done some form of this. When I first started in crypto, I went on KU Coin and I just bought, 10,000 of every coin. And the reality is that I would make more money by just continually investing in good cryptocurrencies than trying to just hit everything. And that is the case, because most of those are worth nothing. And the very few that even did become worth anything, I made more money by selling those out and buying Bitcoin and Ethereum and just holding on to those over the years instead. So, and I mean, to end this off, most cryptocurrencies go down when Bitcoin goes down. Most cryptocurrencies tend to go up when Bitcoin goes up. So don't kid yourself and think that your new cryptocurrency is the next gem that's going to eclipse Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin is tanking, yours is probably too. And that has been proven time and time again with many of these crazy hype coins, meme coins, etc. I will do a video in the future covering why you probably won't make money off of meme coins, hype coins, metaverse, all that stuff. Different from this. This is more so the data of who's actually becoming rich. That will be looking at the amount of projects that epically fail, which is most of them. We are in a new .com bubble, my friends. It is the current crypto market, but you can invest in the Googles, the Apples, the Microsofts by sticking with the good top cryptocurrencies that we have currently. Again, none of this is financial advice, financial entertainment mainly, but that's pretty much everything for today. So let me know in the comments, what did you think about all this? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think there are coins that are going to 100x? There's probably going to be a bunch of shills in the comments because of that. But let me know, where do you think things are going in crypto? What are you invested in? Have you ever invested in something silly and then realized and sold out of it and gone back to the right way of doing things? Are you invested in a ton of random shit coins and maybe this is helping bring things back to earth and you're like, okay, maybe I should focus on some stronger, better cryptocurrencies and not just be throwing my money around randomly? Mental accounting behaviors. So important. All money is the same level of importance and liquidity. You don't have like fun money that you can just throw away on stupid stuff and this is my serious money. No, it should all be considered the same. It's not just $200 that I'm going to throw into Shiba. No, that's $200 that could be Bitcoin money, that could be $1,000, that could be $10,000 eventually. You do not mess around when it comes to finances, and everyone is messing around. Stop it. All right, so let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And do comment #1ham in the comments if you did watch to the very end. I really appreciate it for those of you who did, because this is a really, really long one, and I always appreciate for those who actually do go to the very, very end. Anyways, I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, signing off. Cheers.